I'll be damned. So this is what it does when it thinks nobody's watching.
This is the weird thing. It does that jelly thing again. You know, like with the Houston lights.
Yeah.
So you can see it's actually inside it. And then this shape comes through and moves over the frames. It's going to blow your minds. I'm looking at it going, this is not real. It's not, it can't be, but it is. And it's amazing. You know, it's gorgeous and scary. Some of it's like, crikey. Trying to think how big the thing was that I've seen under the water, because I've seen something under the water which I didn't know was there.
All right, well, let's jump into this one then. So this is from Alien Investigation, which is George Knapp's. I think he commissioned the show, or he's produced the show, or certainly involved in the show. Netflix. So George Knapp he's been a journalist for a really long time in Las Vegas. Started many, many years back, one of the very first people to really take on board the UFO subject. He was one of the, if not the first, to interview Bob Lazar. And he's been deep in the UFO subject for many, many years. Probably one of the, in terms of journalists, one of the OGs of this subject. You know, award-winning journalist. I can't say anything more. I mean, what do you reckon, Tom? What are your thoughts on George Knapp?
Well, he's got a career that's, I'm gonna say, 40 years.
Wow.
And he's still, in my and many other people's opinion, one of the most credible people out there, and that really should say it all. I mean, it's so easy to take that big paying network show that you got full of fairy stories or whatever, but he's consistently put the data in front of him, and he just reports on it and lets people have their own swing of the bat. Like Jimmy said, he's the first guy where Bob Lazar contacted, because I think the story arrived on his editor's desk, and his editor was going, blind sources, whatever, and a young George Knapp went, oh well, give me that, let's have a look at it, and now he's, you know, just continued to build on that legacy of authenticity. So he's a great guy. Yeah,
that's
terrific.
There was
look him up then.
And I think when the congressional hearing was being put together, I think they went to George Knapp to say who would be good people to talk to, and I think he was really heavily involved in organising the witnesses coming forward to the most recent congressional hearing. Not the most recent, the one before that, probably this one as well, the most recent one, but the big one with Dave Grush and Commander Fravor and
he just obviously didn't get together the people that were putting the video footage together.
Yeah, no, not the footage. No, I don't think he was involved in that. I think that was the one before. That was the one a couple of years before where the officials were there and they were showing the footage and they didn't know how to pause the screen and the thing shot past and I don't really know. Of course you do.
So ill prepared. It was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so big deal. But anyway, so he put together this show on Netflix. It's sort of him presenting it and talking to people, and I think that this part of the show, that the footage that you've analysed that we're going to talk through and show shortly, is where he'd commissioned. I'm going to read this from here actually because I've got it. So an expedition was commissioned by George Knapp to capture clips at night. The first ROV, so it's remote operated vehicle, off the French coast of Normandy. So I think they saw an illuminated object roughly 200 yards in the distance. Then they saw it speed away, and I think that was it. So hours later, they'd all gone to bed, and there was a night watchman. Just want to pause there for a second. Night watchman, Yeltsin Yemen, just saying. It's always a night watchman. Camburgers, for anyone listening, the reference there. Night watchman happens to capture this object, sort of like an orb going into the water, turning into a USO.
With the exception of our night watch guy.
Don't tell me it's going to go in the water.
Now it's in the water.
I'll be damned. So this is what it does when it thinks nobody's watching. Have you ever seen anything like this?
A Willie Peter flare is the only thing that I know that will hang like that in the air, but that's not a flare because there's no smoke coming off of it. Look at that.
What caught your eye on this one? Why did you decide to look at this one?
It was very clear. I thought it was a very clear image, and it looked quite simple. So I thought, let's have a go on that, see what I can come up with. I wasn't expecting too much because on initial viewing, you couldn't really see, it was just a light. So I did the usual and put it into frames to see what I could pull from it. Got the frames way too big to play around with. So I did the usual thing of got the orb, the first proper clear image of a sphere disc. I put that on the screen at a decent size, and then I put plastic on and masking tape around the edges of it, and I enhanced the whole series of frame. First of all, sorry, I edited the video to just the scenes of the orb, no blank bits or anything. So then I can enhance the whole film, put that into frames. I think it was about 17,000. And then I dragged a massive.
Can we let's pause there? Just pause there for a second. How are you storing this?
I am running so low on space. I've asked Santa for a hard drive. So can I have a 4 terabyte, please, Santa? Because God, I need it because I am moving stuff around and I'm losing things. It's bad.
Okay, sorry, I just needed to ask the question. Continue, please.
No, seriously, it is. Because each time I try and find the piece I've seen, I think, right, I'll get that. And then trying to find it when the images are so large, say like the 400 megabytes each, and I've got 10,000 or something in one block, trying to view each one to see if that's the one with the picture in, with the right, it takes a while. This came through quite quick. Pulled the picture up, tried to keep them all the same size. So even though it moves around, I've fixed it in the center of the screen so you can see the changes going on. It does a few of those blank things, doesn't really know what's happening, best guess. And then it's like milky. I think, oh, this is terrible. It's over and over, one after another. Went on a couple of hundred. The milky thing is part of it, right? It's part of this light. This is the weird thing. It does that jelly thing again, like with the Houston lights.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can see an edge, like a translucent edge. And the thing inside, this milky thing, moves in from the edge. So you can see it's actually inside it. And then this shape comes through and moves over the frames. And I've managed to capture that over a good, I don't know what frame rate it was, but it captured the movement pretty well over a short space. And then it goes milky again, and then it turns back into the light. And it goes into the distance as well, because I was having to enlarge it quite a lot. And I was even getting pixels, it's like, oh, it must have gone further away than 200 yards or something. But I was curious about how far it was from the boat. Trying to think how big the thing was that I've seen under the water. Because I've seen something under the water, which I didn't know was there. Because I'm working in so close, light moves around and it goes down to the water, and I'm pulling it up, getting the frame to match each one. And then I'm looking at the water thinking, that's like a light in the water. Is it a reflection from this light? But then I can see another one. And as the frames move on, more of these lights appear under the water. And it's not a reflection. It's not moonlight on the ripples or anything, which I totally ignored this first off. So I just thought it was that. It was just the light shimmering. It's not. The lights under the water are causing the light on the surface. When I zoomed in, you can see a form, a brown form, like I saw on the Houston one. Can you remember when that first one I showed you and you went, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
There was that shape behind this light. The same thing is under the water with them lights. Here's the weird one. As it comes down, I think it's on the second time it comes down, these lights two of them blob together. I think it goes into three, one, two, three lights, and this one join, or two lights, and this one joins it, and then goes in, and goes under the water, and then you can see it under the green, and you can see it changing under there a little bit. I put some of them on the second clip I think I sent you.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff on that. I don't think I've put. There's one on which is like a, I don't know, like a dummy shape or something in this jelly. I've seen that very similar on the Houston one. I'll get these when I can find them. I'll get them up. They're a TIFF file. They're pretty big, so you can see a lot of detail. That image of the pink thing I didn't see on the second animation I did, because I got that from a different frame rate, which means I've not got enough frame rates to capture all the movement that's going on. But that's how I believe it works. I'm not sure. I mean, you'd know, Tom, because it's only from what I've experienced that I'm picking this stuff from.
Yeah. I mean, the immediate question that I've got in my head, and don't presume that I'm any kind of expert, is when you see these balls of light or things that this appears to be, there's to me and lots of the people I've listened to, two main things it could be. One is it's a ball of plasma.
Mm-hmm.
So you would imagine that when plasma or lightning goes into water, it's going to dissipate or at least boil the water around it. So you're going to see lots of steam and foam and everything. The other one is as like Bob Lazar has mentioned, like gravitational lensing. So if it's something which is creating a really dense gravitational field around it, then it looks like a ball of light because all the ambient light around it is lensed around it, just like it would go through a crystal ball or something like that. And that would have the effect on water of like pushing a glass bowl into it.
Yeah.
So it would just move out the way.
Yeah.
And looking at that video that you've sent there, it looks more like that, but it doesn't look uniform. So it's not like a perfect 360 glass circular thing.
No,
more of a like morphic field. It's fascinating.
It does, swell and shape. Was it on the last one? Oh no, it was the previous one I did with Jimmy. With that ball of light in the sky, if you remember, Jimmy. The sphere inside that, I was struck how perfect that did look. And far from what this does. This is very organic, very.
I wonder if it's because it's because of how close it is to the water and then goes into the water. I wonder if, and I'm no expert at all, so I'm just speculating here, but I wonder if potentially through the vapor of the water and indeed the actual water itself could have created a bit of a
like a mirage effect, a scintillation, I think they call it.
To sort of change the shape a little bit. So potentially it is a perfect sort of circle, but then we start going through water to look at it, or going through water vapor. I can imagine there is some, just above the water.
Shots, it's not in the water.
Oh, okay.
That's out, where it's black. I did an inverted one and I've tried playing around with that. I don't think I've sent you that one. And that's showing some different things. Looks a bit tricky to pull out though, because it's got a heavy contrast, but it's there's again a lot from what I thought was going to be a pretty simple little quick project has opened up, especially when I saw all the lights underneath. You can see how big this thing is. Just reminded me so much of the Houston one. I've been putting animations together, what to post out, and then this came up, drags away again, and I really want to get them out because it's going to blow your minds. I'm looking at it going, it's not real. It's not, it can't be, but it is. And it's amazing. It's gorgeous and scary. Some of it's like, crikey, I don't know how you make contact with anything like this. Or
that's such a powerful thing, though. Like in an age of digital mess and Photoshop and stuff like that, to be able to say, okay, so we don't know what this is, but step -1 is it's something,
Yeah.
And then after that, at least we've got a foot in the door as to this is worth investigating. What
Yeah.
else correlates with this? Because David Fravor said with the Tic Tac that when he got there was white water and it looked like this thing was.
Hmm.
He didn't say it word for word because he only said what he saw, but it implied that there was something under the water there.
Under the water, yeah.
In the Agrodeo footage from that airport there, it's sort of dipping in and out of the water and
Yeah.
splitting into two and going back together, and that's something that once we know that it's worth investigating further, that's when we can look for trends and okay, so we know these things can do this now. Without knowing what these things are,
No.
at least we can start to study their behavior a little bit.
I know this is totally left field, isn't it? I mean, this is like, like I've said before, it's not the almond eyes, greys and the greens or whatever, and comfy spaceships, and they've got all the system worked out on the inside with the anti-gravity, and this is like life. This is crazy, and you can watch it evolving and moving and following a narrative
Yeah.
as well. That I've said that before, and they all do it in different stages, different shapes, but they follow a pattern of doing things. Yeah, it's really intriguing, and I don't know where it's going. I mean, what that thing with the abyss, that I said about before, the movie. I mean, this is it, isn't it? This is your lights in the jelly, and where did that come from? And that was like 88 or something, wasn't it? Where they must have had sightings of stuff like that before. So
Yeah.
they're in the water and they're in the sky.
I think it's wonderful that we've got people like George Knapp and the Netflix team that are prepared to go out there and do it, because there's so many people saying, look, it's coming from the water, or there's a lot coming from the water. And I get, I talked to Adam G. Simon, who interviewed a couple of times in the past, and he's constantly, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, constantly like, dude, it's coming from I told you it's coming from the water, but that so many different people say it, and we talked about this before with Richard Dolan. He's done so much work on USOs and UFOs coming from the water and oceans and rivers and any body of water.
So
But
easy to hide.
absolutely, but it's like everyone's talking about that side of things. People
Yeah.
are trying to take photos from land. It's like hardly anyone's going out there. Maybe Avi Loeb had his thing, but that was more to recover objects. But at least he's going out there doing expeditions.
Yeah.
But so it's really cool to see people like George Knapp. It couldn't have been a better person, really, could it? But somebody like George Knapp going out and they're going, well, let's commission an expedition. Let's go out there. Let's take ROVs and see what we can find. How successful are people going to be? I don't know.
It's when you get this data, you've got to see a bigger picture than
Yeah.
just a little video clip or just a little photograph. So
Yes.
it's really important, the work that you're doing with this kind of stuff.
That's brilliant. Oh, I'm so proud. I'm proud. Feel very proud that you're saying that. I mean, because it's a lonely job, isn't it? Doing it's a lonely job being a YouTuber. But all I'm doing, clicking around, it takes so long, and it is nice, and it gives you a boost.
I think it's got to be like a passion thing, isn't it? You've got to be passionate about it. And I think with you, certainly, Peter, when we first started talking, and everyone's comment was he needs to get his own YouTube channel, he needs to, make his own videos, and I was like, absolutely, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of those that some of them you put a lot of effort into working on footage. I mean, I get so many of those small clips, and I just try and make them a bit more presentable so people can see them. I don't really do anything to them, really. I just maybe enlarge them or slow them down a bit.
Yeah.
But even that, you think this piece of footage is amazing. I've got really good information from the person. We can kind of confirm that it can't be these things. We can't guarantee it might not be these other things, but it's enough. Yeah. It's interesting, and it's enough to pass off to people and go, what do you think of this? This is really interesting. It's unique. It seems quite exotic.
Yeah.
And then you just, the response to some of them is not really that interesting. But then other ones you think it's not that interesting. But, I know it's confirmed. I know it's a genuine image or genuine video of what, I'm not sure. People just go crazy for that stuff. And it's so strange. You can never really gauge it. I work for hours on that. And I know Tom's the same with your documentaries and stuff. You put so much time and effort into them. And you never know what's going to catch people's attention and what's not.
It's so frustrating sometimes, and that you put so much work in the editing, and it's
Yeah.
gosh, and then you get really meticulous with it because it's not quite right, and then put it through again and again, and then and then you do the final thing, and you realise you've got a couple of frames cropped in too much. And no, but it takes me so long to do it. I mean, you must be. What do you use? Premiere or something, or what software?
I do a mixture, so it depends on if I've got a really detailed thing that I want some really cool, clever things. So I'll use DaVinci Resolve. If I'm just putting together something simple like the podcasts, and it's just a conversation, a couple of videos, maybe a couple of clips, then I might use VN Editor, VN, which is free software. It's quite simple to use, and it's fast. It's not the best, but it's fast, and it comes out HD, so I'm happy with that. But if it's something that's a bit more detailed, lots of clips, lots of cuts backwards and forwards and things, then
DaVinci
probably
can take it.
DaVinci. Yeah.
DaVinci was good tonight. I put to get some of those quick clips for you. I put a load of frames across, and they were 238 megabytes each. And I sort of went dragged in, and then just went, and it held on, and went, "Dup," and there it came up, and then pulled them across. We
Yeah.
did it, and then I quickly shrunk them down into a thing and sent it off to a MP4.
If anyone listening wants to get Peter a Christmas present of a 10 terabyte hard drive, I'm sure we'd gratefully receive it. I'm sure we could arrange.
I tell you what, a
Jesus
friend of
Christ.
mine I knew when I was sculpting, he's got a computer that is just industrial strength. He was given it. Some chap said he didn't need it anymore. It's too much for him. And it's got terabytes of power. He was saying to me, and this is the sort of thing this guy who I bought mine from says they're tens of thousands of pounds. You're going up in that. But that kind of thing, if I could borrow that, I could stick all these massive files in, couldn't I? And then just knock some film off. That'd be so good. Zoom in and.
Just to switch it up a little bit, can I ask what you two guys are working on next? What's to come from? Let's start with you, Peter. What's to come from Truth in Focus?
Truth in Focus is I am going to. What did I send you last? I did that, didn't I? I did that one. Yeah. No. I've got these videos I've done. Finished some more Houston Light stuff. Really long images, not very fast, so you can get a good chance to look at them. Lots of big changes, and I've got some more transformations. And then I've got this as well. I'm going to post all the stuff I can find of the best images, like the ones you were looking at, the plasma type things, which is basically the end of the footage and pretty much near the beginning. What happens in the middle is tedious and boring, and if anything does happen, I haven't found it yet. But I might go back to that area. But in a minute, I'm just going to concentrate on the beginning and the end. Do the best I can with those. I'm going to stick them up as well. And no music.
Am I right in thinking that you might be putting some of the still images and a bit of a write-up on Substack? You might be starting a Substack.
Yeah. Oh yes, Jimmy. Thank you. I need to look this up. This Substack thing. A lot of writing. A lot of writing you do. But cause you know what I'm like. I send you a video message. I can't be doing that. Hey Jimmy, me. So I'll have a look at that. It sounds I need to get more momentum with the YouTube first. Really,
Yeah.
You need a tech butler to do all this whilst you're doing the analysis. You can have your own pet reporter there doing your Substacks for you.
That'd be so good, wouldn't it? Yeah. I'll do the footage.
I think it's a great idea. I just think that, and it's only my thought. You do what you like, mate. You absolutely do what you want. But I think it would be really useful, especially if a lot of your stuff is stills. It would be really useful to have somewhere where the stills are, where you could just go through the stills. And video's fine. Video works for that as well.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And stuff. But I think as a compliment too, just something to think about. I mean, it's your call.
I'd love to,
but I'd love to.
Headphones or something. I'd love to be able to put some of the large images on.
Yeah.
Like the one I sent you, 1.7 gig, and then you can go into it yourself. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got space on my computer for that. If I'm honest,
I think there's so much value to having a really good look at a big image and then having the description and where it was taken
Yeah.
and if any processing was done like that. So that's the first thing that springs to mind when you're describing what you're able to do. It's like a good website with
That'd
some
be great,
quality
wouldn't it?
galleries on there, and you could build
Yeah.
up a library then of stuff. It'd be fascinating.
And you can go into each picture yourself and explore it. And
Yeah.
you can explore. You go right into the edge of those things and then go travel right around, look at all the changes and the bubbling and the weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of value.
I like
mean,
that, Jimmy. Yeah. I think
because
sounds good.
YouTube compress, even if you go onto HD, it still compresses it. You've still got only so much of a screen. You can't really zoom in. There's not much you can do. You can screenshot, which is not good quality.
No.
So somewhere where you can just click on it and it's bang, there it is. You can save it, you can play around with it. Huge value to people that are looking at researching and just interested in the subject. Because that came to my mind. I thought, well, where have you got this stuff, Peter? And on the YouTube, okay, cool. But like some of these pictures are huge, and I'm just looking at it on a YouTube video screen, which is smaller. And so I just think it'd be really useful for people. I certainly find it useful as a point of reference to go back on. Oh yeah, the Houston Lights case and the Camburgers case and all these sort of these other high-profile cases and maybe lesser-known cases, but might become well-known in the future. We talked about that with the Kingman case where Chris Mellon talked about, it's a big case at the time and then sort of dies off a bit and all of a sudden it comes up in a signal message between Sean Kirkpatrick and Chris Mellon. All of a sudden everyone's interested in the Kingman case. It's a prime example.
Houston, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the Channel Islands, that's like last month or something, wasn't it?
I think it was,
When was that?
I think it was quite recent. The George Knapp case. I think it came out recently. I can imagine it was probably filmed a while, maybe a year or so. But, take a while to put it all together, I suppose, for Netflix. But that would be my guess. I don't know the exact date, but I would imagine within the last year or two. Tom,
Yes.
where are you, Tom? What's coming up next for you? What are you working on?
I've got 4 videos I'm working on at the moment, mate, and it's that's exactly how I feel. So I try and keep a balance between nuts and bolts stuff and then the really weird stuff, which is what I'm really passionate about. But I think it adds a bit of credibility to you when you show that you can be normal as well. So I've got one, the Black Knight footage,
Yes,
famous
yeah.
thing. Well,
satellite.
just to pop that bubble, it's been completely debunked, and I'm doing a video about that. But that's great because that just removes it from the what if pile, and it shows you what to look for. And if we see that thing again in future, it's okay. It's this. So that's going to be a really quick one. I'm still looking into these drone things over New Jersey, but I've already done one video on that. But the next one's going to be more because I'm a bit of a nerd about planes and stuff like that. So the next one's going to be this is what we should be able to see, and somebody somewhere can see this. So wise, a bit more of a technological look at it. Then I've got one a trial of video about Rendlesham Forest because I've been making this video honestly for 6 months probably. I've been researching it for about 6 months, and it's like trying to, I'll put it politely, tie a knot in fog. It's just one of those things where the closer you think you get to something that's tangible and yes, okay, these bits fit, it just doesn't quite fit or whatever. So I've got that coming out. But then I've got a proper, to the other side of the spectrum is I've got a really weird video that I'm working on about consciousness and intent and all that sort of stuff. The spooky side of UAP. So that's like my little treat. I'm going to get these ones out of the way first, the sensible stuff, and then indulge. Weird. Yeah.
Love
awesome.
It. That's cool.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, look, I've really enjoyed this, and we've run away with time. We had too much fun. Too much fun. Love it. Let's do it again.
Yes, we must. That was good. It's nice.
Awesome.
I like it. I like it. It's better than being on my lonely YouTube.
Right. Okay. On the next one then, guys, I will see you both soon. Thanks very much for hanging out. Really, really enjoyed it.
No problems. I'll send some stuff over. I'll get
Yeah,
some
definitely,
more of this
man.
finished. Send
Yeah,
them over.
keep it
Nice to
coming.
meet you, Tom. Nice
And
job.
you, Peter. Absolute legend, mate. Thank you.
I'm going to check you out anyway. I'm going to look your stuff up. I didn't know about you. Now I do. Okay.
Cheers.
Take care, guys.